And you're watching News Now on News Central TV. I am Judith TV. The top stories at this hour. Nigerian government affirms Dangote Refinery to sell exclusively to NNPCL. FCT Minister Wale unapologetic about warning to PDP-controlled states. South Sudan postpones polls, extend transitional period. We bring details of these and more shortly. We'll start off with reports from Edo State that say that a two-story building has collapsed in Ikusodin, a community behind the University of Benin. The building is reportedly occupied primarily by students of the institution. We'll provide more details as the story unfolds. And now we switch gears to energy, where we understand that the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited will be the sole buyer of premium motor spirit from the Dangote Refinery. This was disclosed by Finance Minister Wale Edun during a press briefing in Abuja. According to the minister, marketers interested in purchasing PMS will have to source it through NNPCL's trading arm. The agreement outlines the terms for crude oil supply to the refinery and the distribution of petrol and diesel. Despite earlier statements from NNPCL, the government will maintain control over pricing. Starting Sunday, Dangote Refinery will supply 25 million litres of PMS daily. By October 1st, NNPCL will commence a crude oil supply to the refinery, with payments for both crude and refined products made in Naira. Still staying with the oil sector, operatives of the IGP Special Task Force on Petroleum and Illegal Bunkering have uncovered an illegal petroleum refinery in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Force Public Relations Officer Olumuyiwa Adejobi described the findings as a significant breakthrough in the continuous fight against oil theft, illegal bunkering, and economic sabotage. Adejobi said the operation that led to the arrest of 4 suspects and the recovery of 40,000 litres of petroleum products stored in 67 wide storage tanks. The Force PRO added that the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has re-emphasized the commitment of the force to tackling every form of crime, criminality and corruption, extending to those involved in this economic sabotage.
IGP Special Task Force on Petroleum and Illegal Bunkering operatives bust illegal petroleum refinery, arrest 4 suspects. As IGP re-echoes fight against economic saboteurs, the operatives of the Special General Police Special Task Force on Petroleum and Illegal Bunkering have once again made a significant breakthrough in the continuous fight against oil theft. Illegal bunkering.
Let's also tell you that the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Wale, has declared he has no regrets for threatening action against any PDP-controlled state that had undermined his authority. Addressing journalists, Wale promised never to support his successor, Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara, following escalating tensions between them. The rift intensified after the PDP National Working Committee handed control of the party structures in Rivers State to Wale, a move that sparked outrage within Fubara's camp. Wale criticized PDP governors for backing Fubara, accusing them of disregarding legal processes. While defending his strong rhetoric, Wale clarified that his comments were figurative, asserting that he would not tolerate interference in Rivers' political affairs. He added that he would not stand by while others attempt to undermine him. And still staying in Rivers State, where the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Wale, has solidified his position in the People's Democratic Party leadership crisis as the National Working Committee endorsed the Rivers State Congresses. Wike's loyalists within the PDP NWC not only secured their approval but also postponed the National Executive Committee meeting originally set for September 26 to October 24th, which could have overturned the decision. The PDP NWC, led by Acting National Chairman Umar Damagum, made this decision during a meeting at the party's national headquarters, Wadata Plaza in Abuja. The NWC meeting had been delayed for the past 3 weeks amid rising tension within the party, especially between former Rivers State Governor Wike and the PDP Governors Forum over the status of Rivers State Party congresses. Now on to Edo State, where a pro-democracy group has warned politicians participating in the upcoming Edo State governorship election to shun campaigns promoting violence and focus on issues they intend to address when elected into office. The group, while expressing concerns over recent events in the state leading to the governorship poll, say the attitude of politicians in the state is capable of setting the state on fire.
Not yet. Desperate politicians should desist forthwith from fanning the embers and beating the tom-tom of war as we approach the election dates. They should take cognizance of the fact that.
Still talking politics, National Interim Chairperson of the Labour Party, Nnamdi Usman, has expressed her desire to be remembered for leaving behind a united, formidable and indomitable party capable of winning elections nationwide. In her inaugural address, Usman emphasized the need for forgiveness, integrity and fairness to achieve this goal. Usman acknowledged the party's previous conflicts but stressed that no group or individual should feel defeated as everyone emerged victorious through the reality of the law. She also encouraged party members to put aside their differences and work together towards a common goal. So joining us now to discuss this is a legal practitioner and member of the Labour Party, Monday Mawa, legal practitioner and a member of the Labour Party. Monday, many thanks for joining us. Let's get started, shall we? I mean, Nnamdi has put out this very inspiring inaugural statement or speech, but what specific strategies do you believe Usman would implement to achieve a united and formidable Labour Party?
Well, first, good morning to you and good morning to Nigeria. The point is that if they can't, I think what he's trying to do now is what I expected leadership of the party to have done long ago. What she's trying to achieve now is like putting the cart, sorry, the cart before the horse. Now, the Labour Party has been further divided by the action of the leadership of some of the members of the party by what transpired in Abia in Umuahia. Now, don't forget, I think I was on this program some time ago when I was trying to tell you that the meeting that brought about this nena of a woman is even faulty on the part. But let's assume that it was.
Monday Mawa there, he is a legal practitioner, a member of the Labour Party. We seem to be losing him there with the network there. We're going to be talking on
probably was called produce her was wrong. But let's leave that aside. Of course, if we can appeal to the conscience of everyone.
Monday's network is a bit glitchy there. We'll try to bring this conversation later on if we're able to establish his network again. But if you're just joining us, this is News Now on News Central TV. We're talking Labour Party with the new transition members. Okay, he's back now. Very good. Continue with your submission there. We lost you there for a bit.
Yes, thank you. What I was trying to say was that I said, of course, it's a good move. And if she must follow this through, if she can follow this through, I think Labour Party will get back on track again, notwithstanding the way and manner she came on board. Now, in doing that, you must not neglect a person like Abure. Abure is not my friend in any form, but you cannot neglect him because whether we like it or not, he controls a very large numbers of followers in the party. And because many of them, almost everyone at the National Assembly today, whether in the Senate, in the House of Rep, or any state House of Assemblies today in Nigeria, they were produced by the leadership of Abure when he was the national chairman of the Labour Party. So we must not neglect the role and the importance of Abure in bringing together or in bringing a lasting solution to Labour Party. That is on the part of Abure. Then you must also not forget the person of Alhaji Lamidi Apapa, who was widely criticized by Nigerians as being used by Labour APC when he was criticizing Abure's decision and some other members of the high members of the party when they conspired to send him packing in an illegal manner. We must not forget to also bring that man on the table of discussion. We must also not forget there is another man called Kalitus, who was the man that ought to be the national chairman of the party when Haji Abdul Salam, our former national chairman, died in 2020. Because at that particular point in time, Kalitus was the deputy national chairman of Labour Party, while Abure was the national secretary of the party. So we must also bring in Kalitus. So all of these persons laying claim to the chairmanship position of the Labour Party must not be neglected if we must bring about lasting solution. So no matter how you perceive that they are very infinitesimal or how you feel they are not important, as far as leadership matter is concerned, they still control some significant numbers of people or followers within the party. So we must bring all of them together and apologize particularly to Alhaji Lamidi Apapa because he was stoned,
Monday.
He was beaten, he was insulted. That he was insulting Abure.
If you let me, it's very interesting. Can you just let me steer this conversation and be the moderator here? Thank you. You are calling all these persons who the stakeholders have put a vote of no confidence on them. That's one. Two, does the INEC see Abure as the leader of the party?
I didn't get that last question.
Does INEC see Abure as a leader of the party?
It's not about INEC.
Does INEC? Wait, hang on. INEC is INEC is the Electoral Commission and the college that is in charge of every political party. Does it see Abure as a leader of the party? Yes or no?
Let me educate you.
You're not. The question is a yes or no question. It's a yes or no question. Does it see?
It's not about.
No,
INEC.
Monday. I am going somewhere. Monday. I am going somewhere.
Okay.
No. Fantastic. No. Did the stakeholders vote a no confidence on Abure and Apapa-led leadership? Yes or no? Did the stakeholders? You're not aware. Okay, fantastic. With this being noted, how then should forgiveness come in? Because INEC doesn't see Abure or Apapa as the leader of the party. And the stakeholders have seen them, has voted a no confidence on them. So where does forgiveness come in?
Now, can I come in now?
Sure.
Now, if you go to INEC website as of today, as we are speaking now, my sister, Abure is still seen as the leader of the party in INEC website.
It's very interesting that you are citing a website, because if I go to my last place of work, my picture is still on there, but I don't work there anymore. We cannot use a website as a site as site for competence or acceptability. I go on a website. If you go on my last place of work's website, my photograph is still there, and I'm still called the host of that show. So the question I need to ask you again: are you going to say that a website that has a picture that most likely has not been updated since the last election cycle is the person? So because of that, that means INEC sees him as the leader?
Now,
you have not answered the question. You didn't answer that question.
No, this is not an yes or no question. There's a question that will dictate that you need an explanation. I think on issue of this, now section 82 of the Electoral Act empowers INEC to monitor every meeting of a political party, that the political party must inform INEC. Are you getting that?
All right.
Now, that law, the Supreme Court on plethora of authority have stated that INEC monitoring any political party gathering or not does not give validity to the gathering. That what gives validity to the gathering of a political party is the fact that by virtue of section 82 and 84 of the Electoral Act, that particular party notify INEC of their intention to convey a meeting. So if INEC by their own discretion decide to attend it or not, does not in any way remove the validity of the meeting.
Did INEC attend the Congress that Bure and we're out of time? I've been notified that we're out of time. We're out of time. I wish you could have more of this conversation, but many thanks for coming on. Monday Mawa there is a legal practitioner and a member of the Labour Party, and he joined us here. Many thanks. We appreciate you for doing this. We're going on a short break, and we return. The Nigerian government warns of imminent overflow of rivers Niger and Benue, plus update on the flood situation in Borno State. Join us again. Hey, welcome back. The Nigerian government has issued a warning about the potential overflow of the Niger and Benue rivers as the country grapples with the aftermath of recent flooding in Maiduguri, Borno State. Minister of Water Resources, Professor Joseph Utfa, sounded the alarm during a press briefing in Abuja, urging southern regions to brace for possible floods. The overflow of the Alo Dam, driven by the Ngada River, caused severe flooding in Maiduguri and Jari. According to the 2024 annual flood outlook, 31 states are identified as high risks, including Borno, Bauchi, and Plateau, or rather Benue, I beg your pardon. A team of experts is currently assessing the damage at Alo Dam, with recommendations expected soon. The government is calling for increased vigilance to prevent further disasters. Still on the flooding now, to give you update on the flood situation in Borno State, the Nigerian government has attributed the recent flooding in Borno State to climate change and prolonged heavy rainfall, dispelling earlier reports that linked the disaster to the collapse of Alo Dam. Water Resources Minister Professor Joseph Utva clarified that Borno is one of 31 high-risk states identified for potential flooding earlier this year. According to the National Emergency Management Agency, the floods have claimed over 30 lives and displaced 400 people since Tuesday. Professor Utvav also announced plans to upgrade the Alo Dam, which was built in 1986, to prevent future disasters, warning that any delays or substandard work on the project will face sanctions. The dam, with a capacity of 112 million cubic meters, supplies water for irrigation and domestic use in Maiduguri. Meanwhile, the Borno State Police Command has confirmed the recovery of 11 bodies following recent floods in various parts of the state. In a statement, the supervising police public relations officer for the Northeast, Ahmed Waki, said joint efforts led by CP Yusufu Muhammad Lawal have been addressing the flood disaster in Maiduguri. However, 11 decomposed bodies were found during rescue operations, which are still ongoing. The drowned bodies were recovered in areas including Lamisula, Jare, GRA, Bulabuli, and Dadal between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. local time on September 11th and 12th of 2024. The founder and chief executive of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, has donated 2 billion naira to support victims of the recent flood disaster in Maiduguri, Borno State. Aliko Dangote made the donation when he visited Maiduguri alongside the governor of Nasarawa State, Abdullahi Sule, a delegation from NNPCL Limited towards hastening recovery efforts. News Central's Umaru Kirawa reports that prominent Nigerian figures like business leaders and political figures have stepped forward to provide aid.
We have the Presidential Committee on Flood and Flood Disaster. That committee, which I chair, they've already committed about 1 billion naira. And then Aliko Dangote Foundation will also give another 1 billion. We will continue to mobilize other funds and sources to see what we can do to alleviate the suffering of our people. So definitely, this 2 billion give it as early as this year.
Aliko Dangote for all the support that he has been rendering towards uplifting the standard of living of the displaced communities in Borno State since 2009 to date. The establishment of gas power plant alone in Borno State is something that the entire people of Borno State are hearing the GMD and its team for its establishment in Borno State, in addition to the numerous contributions that he has been rendering. I want to pray that Almighty Allah will bless him and bless his family, bless NNPCL, Nigeria Limited, bless the delegation that came from far to the summit to contribute your quota to the alleviation of the sufferings of the blood victims.
Stakeholders have agreed that the importance of journalists in society cannot be overemphasized. As the fourth estate of the realm, they help to form a strong foundation in building a better nation. This position was reiterated as members of the Nigerian Union of Journalists in Plateau State marked their 2024 Press Week. News Central's Chizoba Anyowe was at the event and now tells us more.
Stakeholders and indeed sons and daughters of Plateau were present at the week-long event by the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Plateau State Council, to mark the 2024 NUJ Week with community service, medical outreach, and a colloquium, which was the highlight of the Press Week. Amidst Nigeria's economic crisis, the quest for good governance was the topic of the colloquium. The guest speaker, Ezekiel Gomos, in his speech at the colloquium, said the only way out of Nigeria's economic crisis remains a curve to transparency in governance, among others.
Accountability, transparency, combating corruption, participation of citizens in governance and development process, legal judicial reforms, and reducing the cost of governance. When we do that, we can get where we want to go. Unless we agree to do that, we continue to have crisis in our hands.
Other stakeholders at the event had some words for the men of the pen.
And as a government, we will continue to synergize with the NUJ to bring the dividends of democracy to Plateau people.
I can therefore say confidently that without journalists, society will not witness the growth that comes with freedom, diversity, morality, peace, and tolerance.
The only advice I have for you is that you should be neutral, as many of you have demonstrated. Don't allow yourself to be used by politicians.
To say that Nigerians are going through a most challenging, if not agonizing, economic period is no exaggeration. Feeding is becoming more and more difficult. Transportation, healthcare, school fees, rent have gotten beyond the reach of most citizens. As reporters, I pause here to ask, what is our responsibility in this regard?
A medical outreach was one of the major events of the Press Week, which was not restricted to members alone. The annual event is set aside to honor and celebrate the strides of journalists in the state, as well as draw attention to various ills they equally pass through in the course of their job. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyowe.
On Thursday, the Lagos State Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, launched the Lagos State Carbon Registry as part of efforts to reduce gas emissions and tackle climate change. The Carbon Registry aims to track and manage the state's carbon emissions, providing a critical tool for mitigating climate change and fostering environmental sustainability. News Central's Bettina Nweli reports. We'll bring you the package of this report in subsequent bulletins. We'll move away from that now, and this time to health matters. In a world where women's health is often stigmatized, one hormonal disorder is called polycystic ovarian syndrome, or PCOS. It affects millions and remains shrouded in mystery. From irregular periods to fertility issues, the effects of PCOS can be draining. Zala Zamani, a public health advocate diagnosed with PCOS at age 16, is now on a mission to raise awareness, reduce stigma, and promote early diagnosis. News Central's Adeshawa Odushoga reports.
Polycystic ovary syndrome is a hormonal disorder that affects 5 to 10% of women of childbearing age. Women living with PCOS, as is often called, face a range of physical, emotional, and reproductive challenges, which include irregular periods, excess hair growth on the face, chest or back, ovarian cyst, and sometimes fertility issues.
It has a genetic predisposition, but you cannot say this is the exact cause. Okay? It can be familial. Familial means it can run in families. There's a genetic predisposition. You cannot say this is the exact cause for it. There could be associations. You know, when I mean association, family history of polycystic ovarian syndrome, body mass index and things like that, but you cannot say this is what the cause. And there are so many conditions in gynecology that are like that.
Zala Zamani, a public health advocate, was first diagnosed with polycystic ovary syndrome at 16. In a recent interview with New Central TV, Zala shared her journey of discovery, the challenges she faces, and her mission to raise awareness about the hormonal disorder.
I had lost my period for like 6 months at once, but I was like, I'm 16, I'm not married, I'm not having sex yet, so I'm like, yeah, I'll just forget about it, right? I went to the hospital. When I went to the hospital, I was referred to the gynecologist, and so I had some series of tests and follow-ups, and at the end, I got the diagnosis that, oh yeah, you have PCOS. We do not present with beards, but all of a sudden, I'm growing a beard, and when you're trying to have conversations with people, they get distracted by your beard. It's just a myriad of things popping up over and over again. So this symptoms often leads to feeling of embarrassment, shame, isolation. Then there's the social stigma around fertility issues.
Determined to take charge of her health, Zala began researching PCOS and connecting with others who shared her experience. Her passion for public health advocacy led her to start a PCOS support group online, where she raises awareness, reduces stigma, and promotes early diagnosis.
PCOS is also a metabolic issue and a hormonal disorder. So it affects more than just fertility. It can lead to diabetes, it can lead to heart disease, and mental health issues if left untreated. So you see, you need more than just a gynecologist to treat your PCOS symptoms. I have had surgery twice due to living with PCOS. And in all of those surgeries, they all started because I woke up one day and I had really terrible periods. Like, the pain was off the roof. It felt like a contraction.
With advocacies from individuals like Zala, health professionals and the government are expected to raise more awareness, to create room for early diagnoses, fund more research, and reduce stigmatization among women. In Lagos, for News Central, Adishawa Odushoga.
You're watching news now on News Central TV. Coming up, United Nations says displaced women, Sudan's war, in desperate need of protection. We'll tell you more after the break. Join us again. And you're welcome back. We switch gears now as we bring you that report from earlier. On Thursday, the Lagos State Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, launched the Lagos State Carbon Registry as part of efforts to reduce gas emissions and tackle climate change. The Carbon Registry aims to track and manage the state's carbon emissions, providing a critical tool for mitigating climate change and fostering environmental sustainability. News Central's Bettina Nweli reports.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would say, welcome to the future of carbon reporting in Nigeria.
The Lagos Sustainability Summit, convened by the Lagos State Office of Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, Lagos State Safety Commission, and the Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency, aims to advance the vision of a resilient and sustainable Lagos. The summit seeks to foster partnerships, promote best practices, and explore innovative solutions to ensure environmental quality, public safety, and the well-being of Lagosians.
In 2015, United Nations member states signed onto the SDGs. It was a collective agreement to say we are going to face these challenges. We are, of course, aware of the resources and the complexities that will come with it. It was a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by year 2030.
The unveiling of the Carbon Registry emerged as a game changer in the fight against climate change, offering industries a transparent mechanism to monitor and offset their carbon emissions while unlocking opportunities to access carbon credits.
Over a course of 5-6 years, or said 9 years, we should have reduced our emissions by 25%. It helps us calculate accurately the amount of emissions people emit or people release into the atmosphere. It helps air pollution. Air pollution is indeed a problem in Lagos. I know almost half of this hall has called us for noise pollution, but air pollution is a real problem.
The Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Dr. Obafemi Hamzat, while representing the governor, noted that partnership and collective responses to climate change, poverty, and inequality will shape the future of Lagos, Nigeria, and the world at large.
As one of the fastest growing cities in the world, Lagos faces unique challenges and extraordinary opportunities. So the question before us is very clear. How do we ensure that our city thrives in the face of rapid urbanization, climate change with various challenges that it brings, and the tendency for financial inequalities? The answer, to our mind, lies in resilience and the ability to adapt and innovate, which is sustainability. In that case, we must all call for long-term solutions that benefit not just today's citizens, but generations to come.
The summit served as a platform for in-depth discussions aimed at driving innovation and collaboration to achieve these sustainability goals. By focusing on these areas, Lagos says it is poised to become a model of sustainable urban development, not just in Nigeria, but also across Africa. In Lagos, for News Central, I'm Bettina Unwili.
Let's head to East Africa, where South Sudan has announced a 2-year postponement of its much-anticipated elections, extending the transitional period outlined in the peace agreement. Originally slated for December 2024, the elections will now take place in December 2026. The delay is attributed to unfinished tasks crucial for the vote, including drafting a constitutional or rather national constitution and unifying the rival forces of President Salva Kiir and Vice President Riek Machar. Cabinet Affairs Minister Martin Alia Lumura said the decision was based on recommendations from electoral and security bodies. The International Committee, including the United Nations, has voiced frustration over the delay, citing concerns over funding shortages and a lack of operational readiness. Since gaining independence in 2011, South Sudan has faced persistent instability. Let's also tell you that a United Nations official has highlighted the dire conditions facing women and girls fleeing Sudan's civil war, stating that they are stripped of their basic necessities and struggling to find food and water as well as safety. Regional Director at the UN Population Fund, Leila Baker, described the situation as one of the ugliest she has ever witnessed. Baker pointed a grim picture of overcrowded shelters lacking clean water, food and medical care. The 16-month conflict between rival generals has claimed tens of thousands of lives and displaced over 10 million people. Speaking from Jordan, Baker recalled meeting a 20-year-old woman in Port Sudan who quietly revealed she had been raped. Baker condemned the chronic underfunding of humanitarian efforts in the region. And now to Central Africa, 3 Americans are among 37 defendants sentenced to death by a military court on Friday for their role in a May-failed coup in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Armed men briefly occupied an office of the presidency in capital Kinshasa on May 19th before their leader, US-based Congolese politician Christian Malanga, was killed by security forces. His son, Marcel Malanga, was among the Americans on trial, along with Marcel's friend, Tyler Thompson, who played high school football with him in Utah. Both are in their 20s.
En conséquence, l'importance de la manière ci-après. S'agissant du prévenu Marcel Malang, Mal, à la peine de mort pour association de malfaiteurs, à la peine de mort pour terrorisme, à la peine de mort pour attentat, à 20 ans de servitude pénale principale pour détention illégale d'armes ou munitions de guerre, faisant application de l'article 7 du Code pénal militaire, prononce l'unique peine, la plus forte, celle de mort, confirme sa détention. S'agissant du prévenu Nimbu Dongalagi Vincent, à la peine de mort pour l'association de malfaiteurs, à la peine de mort pour terrorisme, à la peine de mort pour attentat, faisant application de l'article 7, prononce la peine la plus forte, celle de mort, et confirme également sa détention.
And watching news now on News Central TV, still to come. Israel-Hamas's war and the body of Turkish-American killed in Gaza has now returned home. We'll bring you details of these and more after the break. Stay with us. The remains of IOIGI, the Turkish-American activist who was shot dead in the occupied West Bank by Israeli soldiers, has arrived in her home country, Turkey. The 26-year-old was killed during a protest against Israel's war in Gaza. Her death raises questions over potential regional conflict as Turkey vows to seek justice and the war death's toll continues to rise. News Central senior international correspondent Adeshawa Josh has the latest from Istanbul.
IOIGI's remains is received by Turkish Guard honor soldiers in Istanbul, a gesture Ankara often reserves for statesmen and military heroes. It's an indication that her death is deeply personal for the government. Turkey is a staunch supporter of the Palestinian cause and a vocal critic of Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yargı yetkisini kullanmamız gerekiyor. Burada Ankara Cumhuriyet Başsavcılığımız bu konuda yetkili. Ve Ankara Cumhuriyet Başsavcılığımız tarafından Ayşenur Ezgi Eygi kardeşimizin şehit edilmesi, katledilmesinden sorumlu olanlarla ilgili olarak bir soruşturma başlatmış durumdayız. Bu soruşturma kapsamında ilgili
A graduate of the University of Washington, Aisha was born in Turkey in 1998, but moved shortly after to the US, where she took keen interest in political activism. Her parents say they welcome the government's investigation into her death.
Devletimiz bu keyfi cinayetin peşini bırakmadığını, soruşturma açtığını öğrendim. Çok mutlu oldum. İnşallah aynı şeyi Amerikan hükümetinden de bekliyorum. Çünkü Ayşe Amerika'ya gittiğinde 10 aylıktı.
US President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris have condemned Aisha's killing, saying Israel must do more to make sure such an event never happens again. A rhetoric that's failed to stop Israel from pulling the trigger. At least 16 Palestinians were killed in Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip today, including 5 members of the same family in Al-Mawazi, bringing the death toll to 41,118 since the war began on October the 7th. World leaders are now in a race to rein in Israel's attack on the enclave. On Friday, Spain led a high-level meeting of several Muslim and European countries on ways to end the conflict.
Supuesto en torno a cualquier mesa en la que se hable de paz y de aplicación de dos estados, y ojalá eso es lo que queremos, que un día veamos en torno a la mesa no solamente a los que estamos aquí, sino también a Israel hablando de paz y de la aplicación de los dos estados.
It's a solution Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rejects, suggesting Palestine's sovereignty is a threat to Israel's security, leaving regional leaders unsure of how to end the conflict, while it continues to claim many more innocent lives in the crossfire. In Istanbul, Turkey, for News Central, Adeshawa Josh.
Economic and financial experts in Nigeria have called for the immediate overhaul of the nation's economic and financial framework to tackle deep-seated structural challenges affecting the nation. The call was made by experts from the Nigerian Economic Summit Group in Abuja and representatives from the nation's Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning ahead of the upcoming Nigeria Economic Summit. News Central's Joshua Emarai has more on this report.
Senior officials of Nigeria's premier economic think tank, the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, met with top management of the Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning. The event, a pre-conference press briefing ahead of the upcoming 30th edition of the Nigerian Economic Summit in Abuja. Experts at the briefing say that despite the massive pressure facing the nation's economy, massive potential abounds for Nigeria to become a leading force in industrialization in Africa.
In the next 5 years, Nigeria has the potential to become a leading industrializing nation in Africa. We can reform our political, policy, and regulatory systems, unlock local content development, foster subnational economic diversification, and create a globally competitive business environment. The 30th Nigerian Economic Summit offers a platform for exploring these opportunities, and together we can shape Nigeria's future towards shared and sustainable prosperity.
One of the 3 pillars of the summit is on people, because we want it to run across all summit sessions. What we're discussing is about the people, it's about leadership, it's about institutions.
As you know, the agreement between us and the ministry, the summit is built on evidence. So we brought the maximum analytic capability of the country to bear. You know, researchers from everywhere, all institutions, all reports from practically all types of institutions in Nigeria into the evidence that backs each word.
The Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, represented by a senior official in the ministry, says that the summit will help identify solutions to Nigeria's growth challenges.
The summit will, among others, set an economic policy agenda for a stable and accelerated economic growth underpinned by sustainable and inclusive development. It will also deliberate an actionable framework for transformative political leadership and effective governance that builds the Nigerian state capacity to deliver the dividends of democracy.
The minister, alongside other stakeholders, urged the media to contribute their quota to ensure the summit's success. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Emarai.
Eastern European fighters Denis Chanesh, Russia, and Matthias Reika of Poland are in Nigeria as is set to debut at a Daba tournament this Sunday at the Velodrome Moshood Abiola National Stadium, Abuja. They will face seasoned fighters Dogon Shegan Motar and Dan Yelu. At a press conference to herald their fight night, Rekan, known as the White Mamba, expressed his excitement about the warm welcome and anticipation for his first bout in the traditional sport.
My brother David Osanga from Judo Movement and African Political Team called me on the phone when I was in Warsaw, and he asked me this question. Hi Mateo, do you know number? I said no. Do you want to fight it? I said yes. This is how it happened. And then he showed me how it looks like, because I know already as well. We don't pick the fights, we just fight. This is what we do. So I am honored to be able to fight in such competition.
And that's all at this hour, but before we go, let's take another look at some of their major stories. The Nigerian government affirms Dangote Refinery to sell exclusively to NNPCL. The FCT Minister Nyoso Wike unapologetic about warning to PDP-controlled states. South Sudan postpones polls, extends transitional period. Now remember that you can send us your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number now showing on the screen. And while you're at it, make sure to follow us on social media. We're at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Judith at TV.